Hey YouTube! So today we are going to be reviewing the Star Wars Transformers AAT, or Armored Assault Tank, to Battle Droid. This one's just Battle Droid, it's not the Battle Droid Commander. There are 3 different paint job versions. I like the dark blue the best. I can't remember what the other one is, but the dark blue looks the most evil. But this one looks more like the Battle Droids that you saw. Although I do remember seeing some dark battle droids, but that was in the Star Wars, the Clone Wars series, and they were more like commando droids kind of a thing, really strong ones. I remembered seeing them taking a pot shot on one of the clones. That was the episode, I think it was called Deserter, where you find one of the clones left the battle and got married to one of those ladies with, you know, the 2 long braids kind of thing, Ahsoka's tribe, whatever. Yeah, I'm not very knowledgeable with Star Wars. But, so that's what we're going to be reviewing. But before I do that, I need to show one more thing I forgot about the Mana Guard. So, if you remember, we had this second Spaceship Mode here, okay? Another thing you can do with that is if you take this right here, bend it down, and then take the outer piece and bend it straight again. Do it for this side. It's a little bit trickier on this side. You have to press more in to keep it that way. And then, what you get is, see, it's kind of a V-shape there. It's a slight difference, but it makes it kind of look cool, you know? And then, the other thing I thought of that you could do, you could do with this figure here. Let me just raise the camera up a bit so that I have playing field so you can be flying with your Transformer, you know, chasing after the other ship, and then all of a sudden, oh, it's not fast enough. Faster. Still not fast enough. Even faster. And then he finally catches up to the bad guy, okay? So, yeah, that's just what I forgot to show you in the last video review. Now on to this figure. Now, right up, I'm going to summarize this figure. This is the first figure I've had where it's half and half. One mode's really good, and the other mode, not so much. All the other Transformers I've had, they've been, both modes are really good, or both modes are not so good. But so this mode is a good, solid mode. And it's kind of like a Transformer in a shell, which I like. Or a mech in a shell. The only visible parts are the arms here. But I don't find that I notice them too much. Because if you look at them and everything else, you've got a dark kind of a brownish tan color right here. Around here for the most part of it. But then if you look at the arms, it's a slightly lighter brown tan color than this is, and so I find because it's a different color, it's a little bit lighter, but it's just barely lighter. I tend to look at the rest of the figure more because it's darker. There's more dark than there is light, but it's just barely slight change that I notice more of the big thing of the rest of it, and it's not so bright that my eyes are drawn to it. That's just what I find when I look at the figure. So really, upon first glance, I'm not going to notice the arms. So, yeah. You've got a good mode here. It's nice and solid. I'm not sure what these are. In the little story, because you know how it's like... One sec. I have the box. Okay. So, the story right there is what I'm talking about. It says, Battle Droid Commanders drive armored assault tanks, AATs, onto the battlefield to fight Republic forces. The tanks are equipped with cannons and missile launchers, but these advanced versions have an additional weapon. The Battle Droid Commanders can quickly change the tanks into enormous mechs that will easily overwhelm an opponent. I remember seeing these in Star Wars, but I don't remember seeing their full power. I don't know if these are cannons right here, laser cannons, and missile launcher, or if cannons and then missile launcher, like missiles come out of the front. I don't know. If missiles did come out the front, I imagine it would be like they'd all fire at once, come up, and then come down and smash on the opponent, kind of fly around, much like the Vulture Droid missiles, or the missiles you see in all of this air battles in outer space. I'm not sure, but I'm probably going to go with, these are the cannons, and that's the missile launcher and stuff. So then you have a nice rotating turret here, 360, and then, there's been some slight modifications to this figure to make it a little bit better. I'm glad it's not a spaceship, because it used to be, like, you know, fly upside down, and this would just fall off here. But what I did is I put some nail varnish right there, as you see the nail varnish there, and it makes it fit nicely. It's easy to take in and out, but it doesn't fall out on its own. So, that was one of the bad things about it, and you got into some problems with that with the Mech Mode. But this is good. These can rotate 360 and they later come off to become the guns. And then, up here you got a place for a minifigure, which it didn't come with one. But you'd open that up there. And then as you see, I've got the Stormtrooper in there. Then the problem with this is here, this door can't open all the way because this gets in the way of this antenna. But that's why they made it bendy, as you see here. Which is good, so you can bend it out of the way, kind of. But I find I would rather have it moved back a bit so it didn't get in the way of the door. But, you know, this figure fits nice in here. And I find the head, I think, is kind of a little bit too close to the doors. Although it doesn't hinder them closing. It's just a little bit too close for comfort. Because if I was that little guy in there, I wouldn't want to be hitting my head on the roof of my little cockpit in there. But, that's it for this mode. It's a good, solid mode, which I like. And then, oh, the other thing, it has wheels on the bottom, so you can drive it around, which is really nice. And the wheels I like. They could have made them just a little bit taller if possible, because the wheels kind of make it look like it's hovering. If you see, it's not directly on the ground, but a little bit taller, it would have looked more like it was hovering. Because maybe they hover only about an inch higher off the ground in the TV series and the movie. Now, on to the transformation. Now, for the transformation, you start by opening these up and removing the hands. But when I challenged my mom to transform this thing, she discovered you can skip that step and just break it open like that, which comes later. But I'm a fan of the transform it the way it's meant to be. And I'm planning to get all the Star Wars Transformers and do a huge Star Wars Transformers series. And for that one, I'm going to look at the instructions closely, compare everything, and then say this is the way they want it to be transformed. So I'm going to stick to that for the series kind of thing. But so for the sake of that, I'm going to show you how they want you to transform it. So you open this up right here. And then you bring the hands back. Now, I'm just going to go out on this pop-off-itis. This is one of the worst parts of the Transformer, is the pop-off-itis on it. And, oh, looks like I did something kind of wrong there when I was putting it back in. So, for this one, to get that, you really have to push forward into the part where it connects to get it that way. Now, I will be doing the clip fix on these arms, like I did for the Emperor Palpatine to Imperial Shuttle. Oh, there's one more thing I need to show you on that, but I'll show that in the clip fix video. So I'm going to go out and buy an ice cream bucket, eat all the ice cream, and then use that bucket specifically for clip fixes on these things. But, yeah, but if you don't want to do the clip fix, remember, just push inward towards it. So then what you do is you bring the arms out like this, and then you close these back up. And then you take it on the front here, and you split it open like this. And then you come here, and it's good to have, it's good to have the arms kind of out of the way. Then you pull down on these side parts right here, which will then allow you to pull the legs down like this. And then the feet come down like this right here. Okay? And you pull them down again. And then there was another guy, it was Knight, and then some numbers. I forget the numbers, but I'll be adding this as a video response to his video review of the other paint version of this. And so you can see this video as a response to and know who I'm talking about. But he said it's kind of tricky to do, but I find it easy on this part right here. You just bring the legs over to the side. So they come to the front here. And then you extend them out like that, makes them a little bit taller. And then, okay. Now we can see up top. And then, what you do is you bring these up, is what I like to do now. And then, it does mention to bring the head out now, I think. But I wait, because I like to do the head last. It's the thing that completes the transformation. Defer to the instructions for a second here. Yeah, they say to bring the head out about now, but no, I like to do it last. And you kind of have to bring it up just a bit to get the arms around, but you can keep it fairly closed. So then for the arms, what you do is you, if you'll see here, it's another one of those things, you bring them to the side, and bring them to the side. Now, like I mentioned earlier, do it like the instructions say, but there are just some things where I say, I'm going to do it last. So I'm going to do the head last. So you bring those to the side, and you have to bring the head up, like I said. And then, again, pushing inwards, you bring these down. And with these side pieces here, I should mention, they just go like right there. We'll do the same thing on the other side. There. Like I said, pop-off-itis. If you saw, I had some pop-off-itis when I played with this figure in my last video of the battle. But, so then you bend these up like this, and you twist the arms to the side. Or the hands, I mean. And then, there are different guns you can do with this figure here. So then you can take these off. And, let me just see some. Okay, yeah, this is the way the instructions say to do it. So these were on like this, but then you switch sides with them. And put this one over here in this hand, and this one over here. And now the hands are made out of kind of a rubbery texture, which is nice. So they made the spot where it goes in, the part where it holds it, slightly smaller than it, but the rubber expands kind of when you put it in. And then, you come back here, there's this little part here not mentioned in the instructions. You bring this up like this. And then, when you bring this part down right here, it goes right there. And it doesn't really clip on to anything. See, we got those bumps there and those holes there, and there's nothing for it to clip on. Let's see. There are those teeny holes right there, and those pegs right there, and they're close to fitting into each other, but no, they don't do it. So it just kind of rests back there, which is okay, I guess, but when you tilt the figure back like this, as you see there, it's kind of come separated a bit, but it's not too bad. Whoops, knocked his gun out. And then for the final part, you turn the head here. Like I did in my video there. And if you guys remember in my video, The Battle, that part where he shoots that gun truck, and then the gun truck blows up and smashes into some little army men there. Those two shots were the best laser shots I have ever heard, so I'm thinking I will take that little portion out and use those laser shots in some other video. So now, here is the Mech Mode. Bring them way back. Here's the Mech Mode. With the first kind of version here. You have some good articulation with this figure in the arms and the hands. So if the head can turn to the side this way and that way, which is pretty good. And I like how it can't do 360 turn. Because that's the one thing I've found with figures. I mean, they don't plan the 360 head turn. But, let me see if I can find a good figure for this example. Now, I'll skip that. They don't plan it. Wait, here we go. No, never mind. They don't plan it, but I don't really like it because it takes away from the realism. I can't turn my head 360, and does this guy look like an owl? No. He's anything but an owl. Okay. So, the figure's pretty good here. Let me see if I can take away the fuzziness a bit. There we go. Yeah. I like the evil look on the face. It has a nice dark evil look. And my mom mentioned this mostly. I didn't really worry about it. They came out with this guy, I'm figuring, mostly because of Star Wars The Clone Wars. Because these are all from the Clone Wars, you know, these characters. They focused a lot more on them in the Clone Wars than they did the original Star Wars. I honestly don't really remember Commander Cody being mentioned in Star Wars 1 through 3, although I'm sure he was there. But he was one of the smaller characters. I mean, they do show Ahsoka Tano in there, but they show her dying. And so they focus a lot more on the characters in the Clone Wars, bringing in new characters, but they don't have good character development, and it's just little made-up stories. They're saying, what story will we make next for how the Clone Wars got fought? But in the Star Wars The Clone Wars, if you know, these guys are the comic relief. I didn't really find myself laughing too much at their little jokes and things, but you could tell that they were funny. They're like, yeah, it's a Jedi, run! Stuff like that. Or like probably one of the funniest lines is with Cad Bane, when he's just escaped through the secret hole inside the main control room of his Star Destroyer, and so there's 2 battle droids left. They've destroyed all of them except for 2, and one of them says, "I'm not the commander, he's the commander." So they shoot him. I guess I'm the commander now. And then, that was pretty funny, but, you know. So, it has a good evil look, and this guy doesn't look like a comic relief, is what my mom was saying. Kind of, but, yeah. So then you got this here, and then you have his other gun right here. If you saw it in the other mode. These go back onto the sides here. And right now this guy next is his backpack. The instructions, they don't really say that you put it in his hand, although you can. It's implied because it is a missile launcher. But the instructions say to have it like this. And then if you look at it from the front, the head kind of blocks it. I think with the missile, it resembles their antenna and their backpack a lot more. Their communication thing, whatever it is. And then the other thing, here's where you really had problems with it falling off. So then one thing that you could do before you put the nail varnish on, if you want to, is you can stick it like this. Turn this to the side like that, as you see there. And then put it in. And then bring it back up. But the missile just comes out and it's pushed down so it doesn't stay in. You're just going to lose the missile with that. That's one thing you can do. And that works pretty good if you're doing it the way the instructions say, where you just have it like this. But it also has, you know, you don't get this paint decal. So, yeah, this would come off and then fit into his right hand. It fits in there good. Kind of not very. It comes off a little bit too easy. So maybe a little bit longer on this peg on the bottom here. But with that, you get problems with it getting in the way of this front part here. I don't know why they have the dot there. I don't remember it and stuff. But then with the hands, okay. They've got good here. It looks like the battle droid fingers, you know, 2 fingers and then 1 thumb kind of a thing here. But look, that looks like a human hand. If you added, like this bump, put one right there, and then a bump right there, made it look more like a robot hand, would have been nicer, but it looks like my thumb. Sorry. So the hands are okay, especially since this is on the inside usually, and the guns kind of hide it. So you don't really notice it when looking from the outside. And then also up here on the back of the head, they got, it looks kind of like a vent kind of a thing there on the 2. I remember from the Clone Wars and Star Wars, they just had those 2 little hair type things there, braids, without that brown in the middle there. They could have removed that, but I don't know why they had it there. Maybe it was just easier and stuff. And yeah. So then you got good articulation, like I said, with this. And then, let me lower this down a bit. There we go. Then the feet, they're pretty small. So, like you saw in my last video, there are problems with it getting to stand up. Just a general stand up is good, but there are just problems with it. And then I'll try and do a cool pose, which is tricky with this figure here. Okay, put that back to the side. Have him leaning forward. Takes a while to get this cool pose. You really have to lean it forward on his leg there. Tilt this one like that. There we go. And then, bring him back a bit. So there you have a pretty cool pose. But then once you get the cool pose, and you try and go and touch up on things like, say, okay, these need to be forward a little bit. Out a little bit to the side. This arm could come up a bit. I want to bring this arm out a bit, but bring it up a bit. Make sure the head's more centered. And then, he doesn't stay up and you have to redo the legs. Because that's another one of the things that makes this mode not so good. Is the joints. He's falling over. I find the joints on the legs and stuff at the knees, they could have been just a little bit tighter. Because when you get the cool pose done and then you're finishing up everything, like, even just picking them up and setting them back down, sometimes it will make him off balance again. So make them just a little bit tighter, not too tight, but just tight enough that you can move the arms around and reposition the hands and stuff without really worrying about offsetting this figure and making him fall over. So this mode's not the best mode for the figure. So if you like battle droids, not really for the battle droid, unless you want a battle droid that stands straight up, which is mostly what they did. They never did any leg splits or anything or cool stuff like that. But yeah, not very good for this mode here. And then the other mode was a lot better. Good mode. It's an okay figure. And now one more thing. I'm going to transform it back into the other mode. Because there are some things I find that when you're transforming, you really notice them. They really come into play. And so, I'm going to go ahead and transform this figure. This is turning into a long review. But this is the review. So, some things that I find when I'm transforming here. Oops, let me do the head first. Then I bring the head up and close this piece. No problems there. You have to wait to get these in. Sometimes I had trouble figuring out how to get these to go back. But really, to get these to go back, you want to make sure they're straight. Make sure they're straight out like that. And then you can really see it in the back. You see how the gear thing right there is vertical like that, or horizontal, I mean. You don't want, no, sorry, whoops, that was wrong. You want it so that you see the round part right there, and then they come back easy like that. And then you can clip the headpiece on, and you can put this back on too now, but it kind of gets in the way. when transforming this thing. And then for here you would put the hands like this, you twist them around, and bring these up here. And then for the legs, you just bring them down like that. Bring them, and then you want to bring them around. Let's see if I can remember the little tips. Then you bring these like this. Okay, like that. And then these come out to the side. Bringing them out to the side is kind of tricky. But then you look at it and say the joint... Oh, legs fall asleep. Say the joint isn't very tight. And it kind of flops over in that other mode when you're trying to do the cool look of it. And then here's where some key things come into play here. Because if you don't do this right, you can get frustrated when you're trying to fit the last parts on. But as you see here, see these little bumps right here? And those bumps right there, those have to be, those holes have to be down. They don't really connect into anything there. Well, yeah, they kind of do. They have, right there, that bump right there in that hole. They kind of connect in, I think. You can't really tell. And it's not too bad. But then, once you get it like this, you want to push downward. That's one thing you have to watch out for. Make sure you do that. And then, with these, turn it around. Just kind of make sure that they're in like that. And make sure that they're pushed down. And then, you want to make sure that your hands aren't really in the way. Make sure they're in just right. And then you kind of pull down on this. Wait, no, I did that. I did that wrong. Okay, yeah. And then we come around to the top here, and another thing you have to watch out for, you bring this in to close it. And then when you bring this up, if you see there's a little lip right there, so when you're bringing it up, bend outward a bit. And really get it to come up and over the lip. And then you can lock those into place. And okay, so what I was doing is I had this bump up, and then you can have those bumps on the knees, I mean that hole up, and you can have those bumps on the knees down. There we go. So yeah, like I said, you really have to watch what you're doing. Make sure that every little detail is just right. It's really easy on the other Transformers. The only other one that I had problems with that is the Darth Vader Death Star, which I'm not going to be doing a review anytime soon because mine I got used and it was missing parts, and then I lost parts playing with it, so I'm going to have to get a new one. So then you make sure that those get over the lips on that spot right there. Then they lock in, and then as you see it fits nicely in like that. Not fuzzy. And then this part's kind of tricky, but just make sure that everything fits in, kind of fiddle with it, push all the parts in, and then you got that. And then, for these ones, you twist them around. And then this brings up another issue which makes it kind of tricky for the transformation, but not too much. Let's see if I can show you on... there we go. sometimes when transforming, if you see right in there how this is sideways, yeah. That's supposed to be so that the little rivets or the gear is coming down that way. So if it's the other way, it kind of gets in your way, but not too much. So then you just fold these down. And you want to make sure that you push these downward until they're hitting against the legs, kind of, and then you just bend the arms down, or the hands down like that, so that they fit into that little pocket there. And then these should bend forward quite a bit. Ooh, there's a problem with this side here. Oh, the head's out a bit. Okay, that's a problem. Okay, there we go. And then you kind of put those down like that. And then put that on. So tricky transformation, but that is